And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Director. My name is Jeff Owens, Director at WEIU. My co-host is Mr. Cade Slaughter.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And here today is Brittany Tierney. She is the EIU Director of Admissions. I should say the new EIU Director of Admissions. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming in. I guess we'll start off is for people who don't know exactly what a Director of Admissions does, just tell us a little bit about the job, and then we'll get into some of the details of since you've taken over and the fall numbers and all the such.
Sure. So Director of Admissions essentially oversees the Office of Undergraduate Admissions here at EIU. So we are recruiting incoming first-year, first-time freshman students, as well as our traditional transfer students. So we have a staff of 17 people that do a variety of things from, I think, what most people envision is our recruitment team that goes out to high schools and community colleges and goes to college fairs and recruits students to come to Eastern. But we also have a group of staff that plan and coordinate all of our campus events and visits. So whenever we do have prospective students come to campus, they have a great experience and a great visit to campus. We have our processing team who works with our application, so all of our files, making admissions decisions, kind of all of that side of the house as well. And then we've got some great office managers and then a large student staff that give campus tours, that call students. So it's overseeing kind of all of those different aspects and areas of the office.
Are the first few weeks since the semester just started, are they easier for you because the kids are here and that you can breathe for a minute before you have to get back out into the recruiting or not?
We started last week is when we started hitting the road. So
you got about
a week. Yeah, so our staff are already out at high schools, at community colleges, recruiting for the next cycle. We usually open up the application itself in June. So we start the next cycle before students get here in the fall. I think one of those breathing moments for us, or just kind of a moment of excitement, is when new students move in, and then the student class picture. So that's one of our traditions, is heading over there, seeing all of our efforts and work be here for that photo.
Okay.
Now, I am curious, are there any unique aspects of this admissions process here at Eastern Illinois that's different from other universities, or just not different, I guess just sets us apart necessarily?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of, in terms of in the state, we've got a lot of similar practices as many other universities. One thing that we are starting this year that's going to separate, hopefully, us in the market, at least locally, is our direct admit program.
Mm-hmm.
So we're launching that. We launched that and partnered with different ROEs in the region and area. Regional offices, and so working directly with high schools to ultimately tell our local students you're going to be admitted to Eastern. So there's still, even though criteria is pretty out there and we share what our criteria is, a lot of students are naturally nervous about the college admissions process and making sure they're going to be admitted to a university they apply to. And so that is a new program that's going to be different.
Is it in effect now?
It is in effect now.
Okay.
So our current seniors locally in the region, we've been able to partner with high schools and get students that have a 3.0 GPA to tell them, hey, all you have to do is apply and you're guaranteed to be admitted to Eastern.
And that's every school in our region, or how's that work? Do the high schools have to apply to be in that, or is it just something
we partnered with the ROEs to start, and so any of those high schools within
and that's the
ROEs.
regional office of
regional office.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
The big thing that everybody loves to talk about this time of year is enrollment numbers. There was a lot of worry early in the summer, but the enrollment numbers came out. Talk about the highlights and where we stand, and it ended up being better than we thought, I believe.
We did. So our transfer numbers were flat, so our transfer team did a great job getting students to choose Eastern and ultimately getting them here. Our freshman numbers were slightly down, so our full-time first-year freshman numbers were down about 3%, but we were down in May about 30%. So our team worked really hard over the course of the summer to connect with students and get them here and ultimately have them choose Eastern. A big piece of that was financial aid and the FAFSA and the delays in financial aid. We serve a lot of students that need financial aid to come to EIU, and not having that delayed those students being able to make a decision and choice.
Has the FAFSA stuff all been kind of, is it okay now? Is there still issues or not?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So they've already announced the FAFSA will again open in December. So the last number of years it's been an October 1. release, and last year it opened at the end of December, and it will again this year. So their goal is to have everything fixed and ready to go by December, and so we're hoping that's
That will work.
what will happen.
Okay. Good.
Personally, we talk a lot about this in class. We really talk about just how Eastern Illinois universities, it's a cheap university necessarily, but that doesn't take away from the quality of the university.
Inexpensive.
Inexpensive, of course. That's a better way to put it there. I saw a post on Facebook. It said the fall enrollment is down from last year, from last fall semester, but of course there are more students living on campus this year, and that can help enrich campus life, of course. What are your thoughts on that exactly? And do you think it's really kind of making this upward trend with the campus life and just the enrollment numbers in general?
Yeah, I think so. I think students are going to be living on campus more. That's our incoming students, but it's also students that are returning back. They've been here and they're staying on campus because they're having a good experience. And so I think this year I do feel like our campus, even though we had a slight dip and we had a dip in our international population, to me campus feels very lively. Walking around, I see a lot of students. We've got the Spirit Rock, we've got the mural. I think there's just a lot of things happening that's contributing to students being excited to be on
Did
campus.
the residence halls where the students usually live, the one that live on campus, did they make changes? Is it single rooms now, I've heard in some instances, and that students seem to like that, or what have they done to kind of enhance that student and student involvement?
Yeah. So housing has done a variety of things. We've paused a couple of residence halls so that we are going through facilities reinvestment to see which residence halls do we continue and improve. We want to make the spaces that students live what they want those to be. And so they've paused those so that they can evaluate and start going through some renovations. I think also doing renovations to South Quad dining, so going into one dining center, but really making that more student-friendly, student-focused has had a positive impact on students. And then we have had students that have been able to do kind of singles as a double or doubles as a single. And then, there's definitely a lot of options within the housing world.
Let's jump over to homecoming. What are the homecoming responsibilities for the Office of Admissions here on campus? With the alumni coming back, how do you engage them and what do you do?
Yeah, so on Friday, usually we offer tours to any of our incoming or prospective students, and then we share that with alumni and say, hey, here's our tour times. We'd love to have alumni come to campus. In the past number of years, we've bought some, blue cookies, laid those out in the hallway. Naturally, being in Old Main, we see a lot of just visitors wandering around the building. And so we'll have some cookies there. We've got some alumni gift bags and welcome anybody back and greet them in the building.
We're talking to the EIU Director of Admissions, Brittany Tierney, today on Issues and Attitudes. One of the things is you're brand new at this job. Relative, you took over, July 1st as the new fiscal year hit. Can you go back to like when you knew the job was open and what inspired you to say that's what I want? I want to be the Director of Admissions at EIU.
Yeah. So I think back, I started in admissions at Eastern in 2013. So I'm starting my 12th recruitment cycle. Started out as admissions counselor. Like most recent grads, it was a job, and I was excited to work at Eastern and not leave. And then as I progressed and had different roles and responsibilities, I was excited about the growth and potential of continuing to serve Eastern. We've done really good things. Had a mentor in that role a number of years back, and then the last 6 years with Kelly Miller was just a rock in that office. And so seeing her, learning from her, seeing the positive trend that we made over that time frame, and then just wanting to continue that.
Do you still call her every once in a while to say,
I do,
Kelly?
yes.
That's kind of cool when people stay in the area after they retire. That's nice.
Yeah.
Day to day, I mean, what guides you every day just to stay motivated and to stay on top of your game?
Yeah. It's the students. I think what helps too is we have a large current students, like student employees that are our student ambassadors, and so connecting with them and hearing from them and hearing about their experiences is always motivating. And then I still try to meet with families or say hi to families and walk out in the hall and chat during our 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock and just see who's here. And when you have those conversations and connections, it just always brings you back to why we do what we do.
Okay, cool. Okay.
What specifically do you look for just in a student that's wanting to come to university, is there any specific key factors that are involved in that necessarily, and just with the admissions process?
So our admissions process and criteria is pretty straightforward, which is really nice and hopefully comforting to students. If students have a 2.8 out of 4.0 GPA, they'll be admitted to Eastern. Test scores are optional. Students can submit those at this point, but across the state, every university has to have a test optional admissions criteria or policy out there. So that is a state requirement, which has been really a positive trend and transition, I think, for universities. But outside of that, what we look for and information we collect is, are they involved in high school? And a lot of our students have jobs, and a lot of our students are involved in a variety of things. But what that allows us to do is say, hey, if you're involved in this, maybe you want to continue to do that in college. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want something different. But whenever students are involved and they do something and then they find that fit here, they're more likely to retain. They're more likely to have a positive experience. Doesn't impact their decision, but it helps us communicate with them and tell them what do we have and what can you find here.
So you're really looking at active high school students with a 2.8, and that really kind of gets them, ready for you. I like it. Any upcoming events that we should know about that the admissions office doing? You have any recruits or on campus, off campus, anything big coming up?
We do. We got a variety of things. So for high school students or transfer students, we have open house and tailgate football game on September 28th. So there's home football game that day. It's an afternoon game. We started this last year, and it worked really well, as we'll have our traditional open house. So you can connect with academic departments, various organizations on campus, and then our students and guests will receive free football tickets if they're interested. So we'll give students football tickets. They can head over to the game and enjoy kind of an afternoon of get what you need in terms of academics and the EIU piece, but also the student life, student experience. If you enjoy a football game, that's a great way to connect.
And it's Hall of Fame weekend as well, so there'll be a lot of big shots on campus.
It'll be a great day, and then open houses the rest of fall, honors visit days. All kinds of visits coming up. But that's the first one.
I mean, it's a really good opportunity, obviously, I feel like, just to help students kind of get out there and just kind of just get used to the community in general. We're certainly aware of how it can be a rough transition for first-time students. I think it's something we don't really think about enough. I mean, from my experience, I was sort of thrown out to the wolves like everybody is. But just on that note, are there any specific programs that the university provides to help students through this transition from, let's say, high school to university life? Or maybe it's, like in my case, from a graduate student's perspective.
So for our incoming students, mostly on the first-year freshman or transfer side, we have what's called Freshman or Transfer Connection. So that's a great program that got started back in 2020, and it is a kind of a mentorship program. And so a lot of times students come to college and their biggest fear, naturally, is being successful, but two is like meeting friends and getting connected. And so that's a group that immediately, whenever you move in, you're going to meet with this group of other students coming in that are incoming freshmen or transfer students, and then a mentor that's an upperclassman. And so you meet weekly and talk about a variety of different things, that might be important. And so that's a program that has seen higher retention, which means that our students are coming back year after year at a higher rate when they're involved in that program.
And a lot of kids also, they sign up to volunteer too, so they can get out in the community and meet other people that way. So are you involved with that at all?
I am not, but so I know our New Student Family Programs does a great job in working with civic engagement to get those programs up and running, especially during that move-in weekend.
A couple of things I know you want to talk about: the local scholars program and then the family scholarship program. Can you touch on those two?
Yeah. So Local Scholars is a program that we started a couple of years ago. The state of Illinois has funds called Aim High funds, essentially to help Illinois students stay in Illinois and go to universities in the state. And so that is a program that we were able to kind of look at our needs and look at what we wanted to do, and we created a Local Scholars program. And so essentially any student within the region. We just expanded it a little bit, so it's within the same region as our direct admit group in those counties, so a little bit over 60-mile radius for us. If a student has a 3.0 GPA and their family income is under $100,000, they will receive all coverage for tuition and fees.
Wow.
At Eastern. So
That's
been a really
crazy.
cool program.
Okay, and then the family scholarship one?
Family scholarship is brand new, so that's starting this next fall cycle. We again looked at what do we not have that we would like a little bit more of. We've always had a great alumni scholarship that students can apply for, but not every student of an alum gets that scholarship, and so we were able to identify some funds for essentially students of alumni to Eastern. And so if a student's parent, grandparent, or sibling graduated from EIU, we've got an automatic scholarship for that student that's renewable.
Maybe an oddball question, but when you're recruiting students and your staff is recruiting students, one of the things that has happened here in the Mattoon-Charleston area is there's such a need for part-time and even full-time workers. Do you throw that into the admissions, that there are part-time jobs to be had? And mostly, in Mattoon right now, with all the different construction going on and the new things that are happening with the sports complex, does that factor into when you talk to these parents and the kids?
Yeah, especially as we look at our students, the highest involvement that a student lists is that they have a job. And so a lot of students in their hometowns and their areas are working for a variety of different reasons and want to continue doing that. So we talk about both on-campus opportunities, connecting them with career services and our job search, and then sharing what we have in the community as well.
Are you in enrollment numbers like a goal person? Like this year we were at a little over 8,000. Next year, do you want to be at 9 and 95, then 10? I mean, can you talk about where you'd like to be over the next few years?
Yeah. So we definitely have our enrollment goals. They've already switched over for the next cycle, and so. As a team, we're looking at the undergrad side. So our incoming first-year students, as well as our transfer students, international, non-traditional students, all, of course, go into that ultimate pipeline. But, yeah, we'd love to be over 9,000 students.
There you go. Mm-hmm. What do you get asked the most as an admissions director of EIU?
I would say numbers, definitely.
I had a feeling that was the answer. So. When you have to sell EIU to a family or a student or a group of students, can you give us a couple of the Brittany Tierney sales pitch, the big ones?
Yeah. Always ask them what that student's interested in, because it makes a difference on what they're looking for, what they want. But at the end of the day, to me, is that Eastern is mid-size is the perfect size. And so we offer anything that student's going to be looking for, whether that's majors, minors, organizations, ways to get involved, Division I athletics, study abroad. We have so many students that study abroad and have great experiences, even undergraduate research, depending on what they're wanting to do and what they're going into. But our faculty, our staff, people are going to know our students, and that makes a huge impact. My favorite stat at Eastern is our placement rate, is 91% of our students have a job in grad school or going into the military within 6 months of graduating. And to me, that's shows what not only the experiences that students get, but the relationships that they receive on our campus that set them apart and make them a great candidate for whatever that next step that they're looking for. And typically, I envision Eastern as, you want to be a big fish in a small pond, and you have that opportunity here.
Okay, you got another question over there?
I did have one question. Are there any specific programs, or efforts at Eastern Illinois University that just really stand out, that you really want to highlight here, that students should be looking forward to or looking into, really?
WEIU TV and radio.
Well, of course. No, I love this one.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. We've got our top programs, like our most popular programs on our campus, and then we have our kind of more niche, smaller programs. Radio, TV, WEIU, all those opportunities are definitely one of those. Communication Disorders and Sciences is another one. It's a smaller program on our campus, but it's fantastic. Our School of Nursing is growing. I'll do a shout out. They had 100% placement rate and NCLEX pass rate, which is really exciting. And so those are things that we talk about. There's a lot of interest in nursing too, just in general. And then, I mean, music is another. We've got a lot of students in music, but it's a phenomenal program on our campus. I mean, there's so many different programs that if you start talking about one, you're like, here's this great experience or this internship or the study abroad that they do. And so it's knowing a little bit about each area and being able to say those fun little quirks and experiences that you get.
And I know it's only your third year in the new title, but you have been around for, like you said, 13 years or so. What's the biggest challenge so far as admissions director that you're kind of seeing that you have to overcome, a challenge in your job?
Yeah, I think it's just being that person that it lands on my shoulders. I always had that, and being able to go to Kelly and go to people in the past, and I'm of course able to go to Josh super easily in his VP role. But knowing that at some point, I have to, I'm that person that it lands right here, and so that's been a shift. I knew that, but I think it's a shift, a little bit more of a shift than I fully, processed or thought.
Is there open jobs in your department now, either student wise and professional wise?
Yeah. So we are currently in the process of finishing searches for my previous role, which was the associate director of admissions. So we've done interviews for that position and hoping to get that wrapped up here soon. We also did interviews for an admissions counselor, so our local territory, and we did interviews last week for that position. So hoping to wrap that one up too. And then we're actually filling a new position. So there was a position that we've been able to kind of restructure and change, and so we're hoping that position goes live this week, and it will be a daily visit coordinator. So we've been able to look at data, and we know that our students that come here and have a very personalized experience, and they come and see spaces or they meet with faculty or staff, they ultimately connect and choose Eastern at the end of the day. So we are really investing in making sure all of our daily visits, Monday through Friday, we try to create that experience every time. And so we're going to have that as a new position.
So how many schools do your counselors visit? Do you have any idea, like in a month's time or a semester's time? I mean, they're spread out most of Illinois, right?
Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah, so we are on the road. We've got 5 staff that work in the Chicagoland area. So they are our regional staff that live and work up north, and then we've got 3 counselors that work kind of downstate on the freshman side, and then we've got 2 transfer counselors that work downstate. They are on the road Monday through Thursday from this week until probably the first or second week in November. And on the high school side, they visit 2 to 3 high school visits during a day, and then they might have a college fair thrown in there in the evenings.
So they keep it.
so very, very busy. Yeah, lots of travel, lots of time on the road.
I was curious, are there any common mistakes that applicants should avoid necessarily that just really stand out to you? Like, oh, don't do this, or, we might disregard you, I guess, or maybe just a certain thing that, they have on there, I guess.
Wow. That's a good question. Since ours is very, very straightforward, I can't say that we see a lot of students making a mistake that really holds up their admissions or their process to Eastern. Yeah.
Okay.
So for us, it's pretty simple.
When you compare Eastern to the other colleges, similar in the state of Illinois, is there certain things you notice set us apart? Is it the student to faculty ratio, or can you go over a couple of those things that people might not know?
Yeah. Student to faculty ratio, definitely. It depends on the school. Some are somewhat comparable. But I think something that separates us is, compared to a few that I see, is just the community that we are in. So I mean, Eastern is one thing that we talk about in comparison to some other institution is, we're college town through and through. I mean, a traditional college town, our campus and community are here to support students. So we're not a campus that's thrown in a larger town or a larger experience where, it's two very different experiences whenever you're here. Everything is kind of revolved around Eastern and the students that we serve. And so that is a unique experience. Everything's in walking distance. And that's one thing.
I think that's the one thing
different.
We don't talk about as enough.
Yeah.
Is you can get from, the south side to the Old Main in, 10, 15 minutes at tops if you're slow even.
So. Yeah, that's not the case. A lot of universities. I mean, you might have a long walk. You might need a bike. You might get on a bus to get from one place to another. I mean, that's a very different experience here. So
I know when you meet with prospective students, it's usually parents and the student, prospective students. The parents usually do most of the talking, I've noticed when we do the tours here. But what do parents ask, and then when students do ask, what do they ask about?
yeah, so that's always a big piece of the process is how do you connect with student? How do you get the student talking? Because naturally parents are going to ask a lot more questions. So they're going to ask those more serious questions about student-faculty ratio, placement rates, internship experiences, how can they get involved, and then cost and scholarships is a big piece. Students, it's I think usually on us, we're trying to ask the questions that's going to get them to say some things. Depends on the student, but usually try to go with that social life. What are you interested in? What do you want to do? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What are you involved in right now? And let's start talking about that. Outside of that piece, I would say students' biggest question is going to revolve around housing. And what does that look like? There's a lot of, natural nerves of I'm going to live with somebody for the first time that I don't know.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to go back to way back when I was an Eastern student. I know that back then we had a lot of people from my hometown. We all wanted to live together, and Eastern tried not to. They didn't want to do that because they wanted to meet other people.
Yeah.
Has that changed? Like if you have two friends from Centralia, Illinois that want to live in Douglas, or not Douglas Hall anymore, in any hall?
You can. I mean, you can definitely request each other, but I think it's still a talking point on our end of we want to make sure that you're friends at the end of the day. And so
Right.
I think there has been, and housing, of course, would be able to talk,
Okay.
more
Yeah.
specifically, but that is a talking point that we will, encourage students to meet new people because it's very different being friends with somebody and then living with them is something different.
About a minute and a half left with Brittany, Tierney today. You got anything final there, Kate? Before we get to the world famous 8 questions?
I am curious. Has there been any memorable memories or memorable ones just stand out to you really, or any success stories that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think there's always a lot of students that you work with, but I think for me, I've got a few students that I was a first generation student. Neither one of my parents went to college, and I went the kind of standard transfer path, and so working with some of those students that are similar and they're first generation student, they don't know what to ask, and they come in and they've got their fears and concerns, and being able to tell my story and talk to them and relate in those ways is always pretty empowering and impactful. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you said about 30 seconds left or so, any thing that we forgot that you want to get out there today, real quickly?
I don't think so.
All right.
That's good.
Real quick, favorite sport?
Football.
Do you have a pet?
Yes, Yorkie Shih Tzu named Jordy.
All right. Did you go on vacation this summer, or did you have time?
We did not. No.
Best restaurant in the Charleston-Mattoon area?
Best restaurant. We love going to the Alamo.
The Alamo's good. Yep.
Yeah.
Go-to
Probably our
coffee or
favorite.
drink? You have a go-to drink in the morning?
Iced coffee. Made at home. Yeah.
All-time favorite EIU professor? Last question.
Probably Dr. Larson, Heidi Larson.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. Welcome. And congrats on the new job, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming in.
All
We
right.
are WEIU.